Always great to be joined by these two guests every Sunday. You've got Albert Nguyen. You know him better as the analytics capper, a guy that is right now white hot in terms of handicapping. And we've got Meghan Payton, who, as you know from my show last week, does a great job handicapping not just the NFL, but the NBA as well. And it is great to have you aboard. And Meghan, how about if we lead off with what I thought was the most interesting game from Sunday? And it wasn't necessarily the game was interesting, just the result. The 49ers just completely taking it to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They get up 35-0 and scores 35-7. And with the 49ers, there was no question that it's a solid defense and there was weapons around Brock Purdy. But the question was, how would he do in his first start? Could you trust in a rookie? And, well, it's a small sample size right now, but the answer is absolutely.
Absolutely. Brock Purdy for Rookie of the Year. Thank you for having me on, Greg. Great to see you too, Albert. But this game was insane. You've got to give so much credit to rookie Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. Comes in there. He looks comfortable as ever working in this Kyle Shanahan offense. He was efficient. He was explosive, and it helps to have great weapons on this Niners offense. He did this all, by the way, with wide receiver Deebo Samuel going out with an injury early in the game. This Niners team is so built for the postseason because not only are they doing it on offense, still, you look at their defense, almost shutting out Tom Brady, almost making the Bucs scoreless. I love what we're seeing out of this Niners team. I bought into Brady a little bit earlier this week. I ended up taking a late bet on Bucs money line. Man, do I regret that. Brock Purdy, San Francisco, this team is built for the long run.
Absolutely. I loved what I saw out of San Francisco in this one. And Albert, want to get your takeaways because, for one, we're able to talk about just how great the 49ers looked and how they might have a little bit of upside value. And for two, man, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are most likely going to be able to pull out the NFC South, and they might be the worst division winner I've ever seen.
Yeah, Greg, to be honest, this was my favorite bet of the entire day, potentially the entire year. This was, I know, for me, from a risk standpoint, it was the biggest bet for me from an NFL perspective. So I love the 49ers coming in. I did them -3, -3.5. I even had them on a money line as well. The thing that Meghan said that really resonated with me, and I think it holds true for this team for the last couple of years now, is the 49ers are built for the playoffs. This is basically a playoff game today, if you will. Although the Bucs were only 6-6, they are the division leader in the South, and the West. It's still very competitive right now with the Niners and the Seahawks. So I think the Niners wanted to make that statement. And the great thing about Brock Purdy, and it's an amazing story. But Fred Warner, we heard it on the broadcast. He said, "Don't worry about Brock Purdy. He's been playing against the best defense in the league in the last 13 weeks, on the practices." So you saw it today. He already has more touchdown passes that the ball traveled over 20 yards, more than Jimmy G or Trey Lance already after one start. So, I think they're fine from the quarterback position. I am worried about them in terms of the dynamic of the offense if Deebo Samuel is out for an extended period of time. I hope it's not a serious injury.
Yep, I certainly do as well. For the San Francisco 49ers, that is going to be key. And also with 49ers, good news is if they are without Samuel for a few weeks, not necessarily the world's most difficult schedule. And I was mentioning it, Meghan, a minute ago with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because I do think that there's a little bit of fallout there. They might be the worst team to ever win a division, but I know you're looking at a team that we're finding right around between plus 350 and plus 450, depending upon where you shop, to actually dethrone the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the division, and they were able to get a big win on Sunday as well. So take me through them.
That's the Carolina Panthers, Greg. Could you imagine what a full circle story that would be if the Panthers
They sold at the deadline and they might win the division.
They fired their head coach like 4 weeks into the season, and now they're playoff contenders. And this isn't to say that Carolina is some fantastic team. They're sitting at 5-8, but the NFC South is just so bad right now that they're one game behind Tampa. By the way, they beat Tampa earlier in the season. They've got one more matchup with them later in a couple weeks, but Carolina could absolutely win this thing, and they'd have a home game. The Dallas Cowboys most likely would be traveling to them. But I just look at this Panthers team and I see resilience. They've had a lot of changes, whether that be with the coaching change or losing their star running back, Christian McCaffrey, who got traded to the Niners. Yet they just find a way to persevere. This is a tough team coming in, playing against a Seahawks team that is more likely a playoff contender. They shut them down. And the Panthers are hot. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. If Carolina wins this thing, I don't know who would be more upset, the Bucs or maybe Matt Rule, who got fired earlier in the season.
Yep, and Matt Rule, well, he's going to be finding himself back at the college ranks, so good for him. Congratulations on that front, and my goodness, that would be a heck of a story, because very rare where you sell off your best player at the deadline, you look completely dead, and somehow, someway, you make the playoffs. So that would be terrific. But we're talking about these NFC teams. Albert, let's hit upon what I think is very clearly the best team in the NFC right now. That'd be the Philadelphia Eagles. Not only did they win and cover the spread in a divisional game against the Giants, they did so in dominant fashion. I just take a look at this NFC right now, and out of everything that we're seeing in the NFL, the one thing that I feel best about is that the Eagles, they are that best team in the NFC as of right now, and I think the difference between they and everyone else in the NFC is much bigger than either the Bills and or the Chiefs and everyone else in the AFC.
Yeah, with that being said, Greg, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are actually flying under the radar, right? Fly, Eagles, fly. They have the best record in the league. But for some reason, they still are getting overlooked. If you go to my Twitter page right now, I had a poll up between the 49ers and the Eagles. Who is the best team in the NFC? I thought it would be a lot more 50-50, but it's one-sided. The public really likes the San Francisco 49ers. I think that's a little disrespectful for the best team record-wise in the entire league. And Jalen Hurts, in blink of an eye, is now the betting favorite when it comes to the MVP race. So not only do they have the front runner for MVP, but they've been the most consistent team all year long, offensively, defensively, and most importantly, they're running the ball. And I think that's why they're built for the playoffs. I think it's going to be a great, last few weeks of the season. The Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings are probably a distant third and fourth, on the outside looking in when it comes to the best teams in NFC. I would love to see the Eagles and the Niners face off.
Yep, I agree with you. I do think that the 49ers are that number 2 team, but I know that, Megan, you've got some thoughts on this as well, because in terms of Vikings, they fell on Sunday, and I know you're warming up on the team that took them down in the Lions.
I'm definitely warming up in Detroit. I think maybe most of us, including myself, when that line came out last week and we saw Detroit favored against a team that's won 10 games in Minnesota, we all had our skepticism. But the Lions might be the most fun team to watch right now. They are so tough. I love watching Dan Campbell coach out there, and they had a lot of people skeptic about them this week. No way could they beat Minnesota. They looked like the better team. And offensively, if you look at every statistical measure, they are the better team. I would love to see Detroit find a way to sneak it into the playoffs. They're going to have a tough time going up some of these harder teams, as Albert was talking, in the Philadelphia Eagles, who are just absolutely hot right now. Good luck against them or the Cowboys or the Niners, for that matter.
Yep, I do think that is interesting to take a look at. And then, Albert, I know that you were taking a look at some of the AFC teams as well, because with the Chiefs and the Bills, they don't cover, but they win outright. And let's call it what it is. Both of those teams got up with some pretty big leads early on, so it wasn't like there were super duper scares. But what did you see out of both of these teams on Sunday?
Yeah, you're right. They both won, the Chiefs and the Bills. The Chiefs got out to a 27-0 lead on the road in Denver. Lucky for me, I was on the Broncos. They somehow covered that for me.
That's a good
and
cover.
The Bills, right? They got backdoor. They got backdoored by the Jets with a last-second field goal there. But you know what? These teams continued to win. They're both sitting at 10-3. They're getting healthier, and I think they're on a collision course to meet again in the playoffs this year. By far, they're the 2 best teams, the pinnacle of the AFC, and I can't wait to watch them play.
Absolutely, and I do think that it's going to be interesting to take a look at that AFC, because I do think that there's a little bit more competition in the AFC rather than the NFC, because if you're looking for a number 3 team, the Cincinnati Bengals, what they were able to do on Sunday, despite the fact that they had no T. Higgins, that was solid in my opinion. And for the Bengals, ever since they lost the first 2 games of the season, they have went 9-2 ever since then, and they've got a guy that's already made a Super Bowl once before, so we shall see what they're able to provide. And 2 people that provide absolutely great content is Albert Nguyen, the analytics capper, and Meghan Payton over there at Wager Talk. And coming up next, we're going to get their Monday Night Football plays right here on the Greg Peterson Experience on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Great to be rejoined by Meghan Payton. Does great work over there at Wager Talk. And likewise, we've got Albert Nguyen. You know him better as the analytics capper. And Albert, we'll start with you in terms of Monday Night Football. Right now, we're seeing the line in a lot of places, the Patriots being a 1.5-point favorite, seeing a couple straight twos out there as well, with a total right in that neighborhood of about 43.5 and 44. Where do you stand in terms of this game? Because with the Arizona Cardinals, they are the home team, but their home field advantage isn't necessarily much of an advantage. I'm sure that there's a lot of folks out there from the northeast part of the country that are like, oh yes, I would absolutely love to come down to Arizona during these winter months and watch my favorite team on Monday Night Football. So what do you say in terms of this game?
Yeah, Greg, this game is pretty gross from a handicapping perspective. There's such a big discrepancy when it comes to the coaching, and that's where I'm most worried, Bill Belichick versus Cliff Kingsbury. But I think right now I'm going to have to go with the Cardinals, guys. I know it's gross. I know it's nasty. They're only 1-7 in their last eight head-to-head matchups against the Patriots, and they're only 1-11 overall in their last 12 games at home. But the fact that they're still favored makes me like it. I think Kyler Murray's been very, very inconsistent all year long, but I think these are the games where they can, quote unquote, get right, because the Patriots do have a lot of holes. They've lost 2 straight. They lost 24-10 to the Buffalo. It's a close game against Minnesota. Maybe they were, got jobbed a little bit by the officiating against the Vikings a couple weeks ago. But scoring 26 points was huge for them, and they still gave up 33 in a loss. The only thing that I'm worried here is going to be the Cardinals' consistent offense. If they're able to get first downs, especially converting them on third downs, they should be good. This offense has not been able to manufacture over 400 yards of total offense in the last month and a half. I think we're going to see it finally tomorrow night, Greg. So give me the Cardinals right now on the spread. If you don't like that, play the money line.
Yep, and what I think is interesting here is the total, because ever since DeAndre Hopkins has come back, 21-plus points in 5 out of the last 6 games for the Arizona Cardinals. The offense, honestly, has not really been an issue for them. Megan, I know that you like a lot of player props. This honestly feels like a game in which we might be able to finally get a few overs in primetime.
I like that. You're speaking my language, Greg. I'm actually going to go with a same game parlay to get some plus money action. We're going to take running back Ramondre Stevenson anytime touchdown, and we're going to combine that with Kyler Murray over 34.5 receiving yards, and I'm finding that at plus 197. This is a sloppy game, so I'm shying away from sides and totals, and I'm going to look at these 2 player props. Let's start with Ramondre Stevenson, because he's my favorite player on this Patriots offense. He's a running back, but he feels like just an athlete. He's got size, he's got strength, he's used in the receiving game, he's used on the ground. He's a running back with the second most receptions for this Patriots offense. He hasn't had a touchdown in 3 weeks, so this is why I'm kind of thinking, all right, Bill Belichick and this Patriots team as a whole, they're going to find ways for Stevenson to get more involved. He has more carries than normal. Damian Harris, who's dealing with an injury, he's doubtful for tomorrow night. I like Ramondre Stevenson to have a big game. And now for Kyler Murray has been inconsistent, Albert, but rushing yards, he's averaging 41. This is going to be going up against a Patriots defense that really doesn't typically do well with mobile quarterbacks. This year, Lamar Jackson rushed for over 100 yards against the Patriots defense. I like Kyler Murray to utilize his feet. He's hit over this 3 of the last 4 games. 41's the average. 34.5 seems like a good number to me. So take Ramondre Stevenson anytime touchdown and Kyler Murray over 34.5 rushing yards.
Yep, and I do think that we are going to see plenty of offense in this game, and we saw a few weeks ago from Mac Jones. He was able to light it up on Thanksgiving against the Minnesota Vikings when you hand them a bad defense, and I think it's fair to call the Arizona Cardinals a less than stellar defense at the very minimum. I think that he's going to be able to do a little bit of something, and also with Mac Jones, 0 interceptions each of the last 4 weeks. That stands out to me a little bit, and something else that stands out to me is what we're going to be seeing out of our next primetime game after Monday Night Football, and that would be on Thursday between the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. This is a line that has moved. The early opener was the San Francisco 49ers being a 1-point favorite after what we saw on Sunday. They are now a 3.5-point road favorite against Seattle. Albert, I'll get your thoughts on this first. Where do you stand in terms of this game? Because I do take a look at the 49ers, thoroughly impressed by them, and it feels like the Seattle Seahawks, who they were the big surprise from the early part of the season, they're starting to regress a little bit, and they're coming back to what we expected towards the beginning part of the season.
Yeah, Greg, with this game, we were just tooting the San Francisco 49ers horns. They are playing really well. They've won 5 straight games. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback right for them. That system is just perfect to really take advantage of mismatches, to really take advantage of some of the matchups they have on the outside as well as the interior with their zone blocking in the running game. So I don't think it matters, and I think Brock Purdy adds a little bit of element in terms of vertical passing. So if anything, it might be helpful. Of course, you get a little downgrade when it comes to experience and game management, but we'll see how that goes moving forward. With all that being said, Seahawks have not covered in 4 straight weeks, including today. I'm going to go with the Seahawks in this game, plus 3.5. I like that hook a lot. I think it's a great spot for Seattle to show them that they're still part of this division race. Geno's had an unbelievable year. He is the runaway favorite for the comeback player of the year, and I think he's going to be able to put a stamp on this game. So I do like the Seahawks plus 3.5 on Thursday.
And I think that we're finally going to be able to get a halfway decent Thursday night game as well, because a lot of these games have been quite stinky to say the least. And we'll ask you about this one, Megan, as well, because I do take a look at the spot, and the 49ers are coming off of a massive win. They looked really good with Brock Purdy. All the momentum in the world is on them. The betting market is on them. That makes me think that there might be a little bit of value with Seattle, which, if there is one thing that I can bank on in this game, the 12s, in my opinion, one of the best just home field advantages in the NFL. That is going to be very lively for the Seahawks. I don't know if I'm willing to take the 3.5 with Seattle, but I do think that they need to get a little bit of credence for that home field advantage.
Greg, I don't care if there's not one Niners fan in that stadium. The 49ers are going to own this game. There's nothing that you can say nowadays to convince me otherwise. This Niners team is so hot. Even with Brock Purdy, did anyone see what happened today against the Bucs? You don't think they can do that against the Seahawks? Earlier this season in week 2, when the Seahawks, we were starting to think, oh, could they be something? They beat the Seahawks 27-7. Seahawks have the 30th worst defense in the league. This is going to be going up against a Niners defense that's first in the league. Geno's been great. This is a fun comeback story for Seattle. Pete Carroll, fantastic coach. It didn't look like that today, though. Let's be honest. Seattle did not perform well. It was one of Geno's worst games. Pete Carroll's probably not fantastic coaching games. And now you're going to have to go up against a San Francisco team that's just complete in all levels. I'm honestly surprised that we're only seeing the spread at minus 3.5 for the Niners. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that shift as the week goes on. I'm all in on San Francisco.
Now, there's certainly one thing I won't disagree with you on. If you like the 3.5, you probably want to take it now. I do not see this staying at 3.5 for the entirety of the week, so we are in agreement there, Megan. And how about if we throw at you one more game, Albert, because for Saturday, and yes, we do have Saturday NFL football back in our lives. This Dolphins versus Bills game intrigues me, and this is another one where I think the line is going to move. The Bills are currently a 6.5-point favorite in most spots, and as a matter of fact, as I've been doing this show, DraftKings moved this line from 6.5 to 7. I feel like if you like the Miami Dolphins, you probably wait on this one. If you like the Bills, take the 6.5s that are available right now, because I don't think you're going to be getting this on Saturday.
Yeah, this is another divisional matchup in the AFC East here. Miami coming off really disappointing showing on Sunday night in Los Angeles. This is a very, very, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type team. They are really good at home. Their offense is flying at home in South Beach. But when they go on the road, it doesn't matter what kind of climate it is. They just don't play very well on the road. And today in Los Angeles, it wasn't because of the home field or home crowd there for the Chargers. Tua just had a really bad first half, and it was something that he couldn't really recover from. With that being said here, he's going up to Buffalo. Always when you look at games at this time of the year up in the north, you have to check the weather. If it's going to be a cold, snowy, windy type game, it's Buffalo or nothing at all for me, just because I know Miami can't play on the road.
And that's such a good handicap as well. I'm someone from the great state of Wisconsin. I now live in Nevada. I can tell you right now, when you have when you go from the south up to the north and you've been living in the southern climate for quite a while, that has a big impact. So I absolutely love that angle from you, Albert, and I always love having both of you aboard. Megan, you do absolutely tremendous work over there at Wager Talk, and Albert, likewise, you are the analytics capper, my friend. Always appreciate it. Thank you.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.